Thanks for tuning into this tutorial about using the weekly self-evaluation quiz within Canvas. The beginning of each week, starting with week 2, I want you to reflect back upon your work in the week preceding. And you'll accomplish this by going to the module and then to the week in question. So the first self-evaluation will be in week 2. So click on the schematic for week 2 and you'll see the first thing I want you to do on Tuesday week 2 is to complete the self-evaluation of week 1. So you're going to reflect back, now that week 1 is done, you're going to reflect back on the ways in which you met program and course expectations. Now, my screen is set up in student view, so everything that I'm showing you here on the screen should be the way your screen looks as well. So you click on this link for the self-evaluation quiz, and you'll see this item that comes up. And I want you to click here. Now, I've taken this before as a test, and so in this case, it shows that I'm resuming the quiz. One of the limitations that we have in Canvas right now is that in order to give the full points possible for each one of these items, students have to select all the items that preceded up to the level that they're at. So let's say on question number 1, the amount of time that I spent on my coursework last week, including online discussion, was at least 5 hours, at least 10 hours, at least 15 hours, or at least 20 hours. Now let's say that this fourth option was true for you. And by talking about the amount of time you spent on the course, I want you to include things like reading your textbooks, working on your Kimball discussion group, writing papers, etc. Not only being in Canvas and posting in the forums there. So the whole investment of your time and energy for the preceding week. So let's say that you did complete you spent 21 hours. The temptation would be to select this fourth item. But please note that I want you to check all options that apply. And please select every option below if you fully meet the expectation. So if in fact you spent 21 hours in week 1, the correct way to complete this item would be to click the first one because you did spend at least 5 hours, you did spend at least 10 hours, you did spend at least 15 hours, and yes, you even spent at least 20 hours. So in this case, if you spent 21 hours in your coursework for week 1, you would select all 4 options and you would earn the 10 points possible here for this item. If you make the mistake of only selecting the fourth option in the example I've just given you, so you spent 21 hours working on your course, but you only select this item, you're only going to get 2.5 points out of the 10 that are possible. The same is true if you only select that item, or you only select that item. If in fact you only spent 5 hours working on your coursework, then that's what you should select. I want you to be honest in your investment of time and energy on these items. So the first item is about time you spent in the course. The second one is the number of days that you logged in and then you made significant contributions to the discussion. The third option is choose the sentence that best represents your contribution to collaborative learning. Did you use gender inclusive language in at least 20% of your posts, 40, 60, 80, or all of them, and so forth? Are you using grammar and spell check on your posts? If you're not, then please make note. And also with your reading, did you read all of it, part of it, etc.? And what will happen when you submit this quiz is it will drop into the gradebook, and once all the students then have submitted their self-evaluations, I will review those and I will compare them with a couple of other reports that I have at my disposal that shows Did you make initial posts as you were expected? How many responses did you make to your colleagues' posts? Um, how substantive were those posts? And then I overlay those reports on top of your self-evaluation score, and then I assess to you your your participation grade for the week. So you're not graded for one particular forum and then another particular forum. You're graded for participation across the whole week, taking into consideration your responses to these items here on this quiz, as well as on the data that comes back to me um, from your interactions in the forums from one week to the next. One other thing I want to point out, and that is back to the modules. You'll see here that in week 8, the self-evaluations are done a little bit different. On Tuesday of week 8, you will evaluate week 7. But on Friday of week 8, you're going to evaluate the final week. And of course, the reasons for that is we don't have a week 9 when you would normally reflect back on the previous week. So your final self-evaluation in at the end of week 8 is for that final week. All the other ones will follow on the Tuesday after the week in question. So I want students to be honest with themselves and with me about the time and energy that you're investing. And if you're not focusing on some of these areas, I want to encourage you to be careful about spell checking your posts and doing all of those kinds of things, reading your work carefully, etc. And sometimes I take those scores that students use in their self-assessment and lower them if I really believe, in light of the other content, the data that I receive in my other reports, as well as in my interactions with students in the forums. They say, well, you know, Johnny's not spell checking anything, and he doesn't even look like he's proofing anything that he submits. And so I may lower your participation score on a particular week. And so if you see that you scored yourself at a 70 or at a 91, and yet you see that you got a 75 for participation that week, that's kind of a signal to you that you may want to really take a look honestly at how you are interacting and so forth, and be attentive to some of those things like spell checking and so forth. By the same token, I have to say, in all honesty, working with adult students, they tend to be pretty honest, and I often leave those scores right where they're at. And in some cases, I find some students who are harder on themselves than I think they need to be. So in some cases, you may actually find that I raise your score on a particular item because I think you're being too hard on yourself. So some scores may go up, and some scores may stay the same, and others may go down, as the case may be. If you have specific questions about your weekly participation scores, I'm always happy to talk with you. Feel free to schedule a time with me, and we can discuss it via email or phone or Skype. But I hope this helps shed a little bit more light on how your participation scores are determined, and then also how the weekly self-evaluation functions as part of that.